All right. Before we jump in today's episode, I just wanted to take a little minute, chat with you guys, our viewers. I want to say thank you so much for the love we've been feeling on social media. We see it in the views, but also we see it in your comments and your shares and just calling us up and saying, you know what, I listen to you guys and it's the people that we know and people we love. And it's crazy hearing you on a podcast. You know, that matters a lot to us. We hear you, we see you. We love that you guys are listening and you're taking part of what we're doing and everything like that. I also wanted to give a little shout out to a great charity that's starting up, Melanie's Gifts. Jeremy is a good friend of ours. He was also our first episode guest, and that's something that is really mattering to him and just an incredible thing. So if you guys could check that out, look up Melanie's Gifts, follow them, support them, that would be amazing. We definitely have love and support for them, so I'm excited for them in the start of that journey. And I also just wanted to shout out, this is our retail shop. It's the holidays. It's looking beautiful. We got Grandma. If you know Grandma, she's in there. She's doing amazing things. She decorated it for Christmas. She's always a welcome, warm face in there. She'll chit chat with you all day long. That's what we love her for. So go in there, get some candy, enjoy the lights, kind of sneak a peek maybe at our production a little bit, see what you can see from the windows in there, and just enjoy the holidays and come in there, get some homemade candies and see, you know, the joy and the love that we try to spread in the retail shop there. And just make sure you like, subscribe, support us. You guys can now find us on anywhere that you watch or listen to podcasts. So YouTube, Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Look us up. Make sure you follow us. Send us some likes and some love. Share us. That would be amazing for us because at the end of the day, we're called All Our Problems Podcast, but we're really just trying to share love and entrepreneurs, show everybody out there. We all have problems as entrepreneurs. And if you want to be an entrepreneur, or even if you don't, you just want to talk about life, like please share us, give us some likes, tell us what you're loving about it and everything like that. We see your comments, we see the love and the sharing, and we absolutely love it. So I just wanted to shout you guys out. Thank you so much, and we'll jump in today's podcast. All right. Well, welcome back to All Our Problems Podcast. I know we've had a quick little break in between episodes. It is our busy season at Arnold's right now, so we're just trying to fit it in when we can. But thanks for coming back and joining us. I'm really excited. I'm going to let our guests introduce themselves today just because we're meeting you for the first time today. So you're going to know yourself best. Usually we'll just give a little intro for you.
Yes.
But you know this guy, Griffin. He's been here.
Griffin.
So I'll hand it off to our guest. Go ahead.
Hello, everybody. My name is Hannah Ringer. Super excited to be here. I feel so honored. A little bit about me is I'm the owner of a sports performance company called Beyond Development. I started it in 2021, and that's kind of what has led me to this couch today. So I'm super excited to dive into that.
I'm so glad you're here. Like, I love women in entrepreneurship. I love women who are willing to take risks and everything like that. And like, you'd think that there's a lot out there, but I still struggle finding women who are entrepreneurs and everything like that. So I'm excited to have a guest on here, you know, owning your own business and everything.
Yes.
I mean, 2021 is a really interesting time for you to start a business because, you know, COVID was kind of still a thing, especially with yours being a gym and training and everything like that, especially with schools and all that. So like, how did that come to be at that time frame?
Right. So I played volleyball in college and I majored in exercise science. So I always had a love for athletics. I went to the university at Buffalo and I always knew, you know, I want to stay in sports as long as possible. And I thought coaching was what I wanted to do. I was supposed to graduate. Well, I did graduate in 2020. Don't worry, everybody. I graduated. But the reason I say I was supposed to is things look different because of COVID, right?
Yeah,
so
you missed out on like the graduation ceremony.
Yeah, we didn't have that.
Oh,
and I remember
did
everybody
you walk the stage.
No.
Did you have to like sit at home? They like put on the TV screen.
Yes.
Your whole family.
Yes,
Really?
they put it on the
did it.
TV, and
That's
my family was so
disappointing.
cute. You know, they put balloons up on the TV and everything. But
Oh.
so, you know, graduation looked a little different.
Yeah.
COVID was happening, and as an exercise science major, it's one of those majors where I feel like you have to be very active after, you know, either go on, continue your education, you know, get certifications, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And so I was in the spot where I was like, well, if I want to try college coaching volleyball, you know, I'm going to try a GA position. So a grad assistant position. So there weren't a lot because things were shut down. Seasons were not happening because of COVID. But I got lucky. Notre Dame College in Cleveland, Ohio, had a position that was, you know, a D2 institution. I applied and I ended up getting it. So I ended up being a grad assistant there. I got my master's in business and I was coaching. And so
interesting.
it
So
was,
you went like exercise science, then business. Then.
yes, I went exercise
Okay.
science to master's in business.
That's actually really, really smart because I feel like I see it all the time with small businesses. People are passionate or very good at something like baking, for example. You're a great baker. You want to open a bakery, but they don't realize like you can't just be good at baking.
Yes.
You have to be smart about business
Yes.
too. You have to know what you're doing, how to start it.
Well, the whole other side of it as well, funding. All like it's like I heard this thing once. I was probably like a TikTok I was watching. Like if you want to start your own business, whatever number you think you need, add a 0 to it.
Yeah.
Because no matter what happens, you're gonna be like, well,
you'll literally
never thought of that
have
happening.
enough. Like when you start, even us like taking on a functioning business, like we were like, okay, like we know what we're doing. I knew the business well. We know what we're gonna do, but you still need to have a rainy day fund. You still need to have that backup. Like you really don't know. You don't know if a COVID's gonna happen. Stuff
Absolutely.
Like that. Yeah.
Well, and what you just said, I remember seeing a short clip on Instagram, and it would look like a conference for entrepreneurs. And someone said, it's going to take more time than you think, more money than you think. Everything's more,
Absolutely.
you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's been worth it, but it definitely is like add those zeros at that time
Yeah,
because that is going to happen.
Yeah.
But it was during that time I was getting my MBA. Actually, my first course in the program was called Leadership. I got really close to my professor. Her name was Joyce Banjack, still very close to my heart today. And I learned a lot, just that there's a need for leadership. It's such an important part of the business that a lot of people don't think about.
Yes.
And so she sat me down one day and called me in the office and said, when I look at you, I see a Venn diagram where you have your volleyball athletics, your sports performance, exercise science, and then you have this leadership side. And she said, I think you could combine the two and create something in the middle.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where Beyond Development, I started the company while I was still finishing my master's in business. So I realized I don't want to coach. I'm married. I got married last year, but I'm with my husband who we've been together since high school. And I remember thinking, if I go into coaching, I'm going to travel all the time. So I said, if there's a time to try something, it's now. So that's kind of where the motivation came from, is to start Beyond.
Honestly, I say that all the time. Like I went to college for business. I did a little bit of business courses in high school. And I went to college for business, and my first year in business, I was like not even showing up to classes, but I was acing all the tests because I knew all the information from my high school courses. So I was like, I'm not learning anything. So I went and studied engineering. I wish somebody would have stopped me and just been like, listen, you are so clearly passionate about business. You're born to be an entrepreneur. Like, don't waste your time. You know, don't get me wrong. There's value in what I've learned in engineering. I fix our machines thanks to that, you know? So like, I really think it was just God's path.
Fix the machines.
Griffey is usually like, so this is what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
I'm like, walk me
FaceTiming
through
her.
this.
Okay, this is what it looks like.
I'm like, I see this thing dangling right here. I think it's a chain. Let's go back on this thing.
Yeah. Or I'll show up, the machine's absolutely obliterated, and I'm like, what happened? And he's like,
I tried.
He's like, I don't know. We busted off some gears and the chain's all messed up and tangled. And I'm just like, what in the world? So like, I'm thankful for the experience.
Absolutely.
Like it adds value to my knowledge. But like, I do wish like you had somebody who was like, find something in the middle. Like the leadership and everything. That's great.
Well, something that stands out to me too when people kind of ask, okay, how did you decide to do this? So I was doing an internship with a company called NST, and I worked for them for a while. And the owner at the time, I was young. I can't remember right now off the top of my head how old I was, but he had presented an opportunity to basically manage. They wanted to open up another spot in Columbus. And my husband now, but at the time he lived in Columbus. So I was trying to get there. I was trying to get to Columbus. The plan was never to be in Cleveland.
Yeah.
So he basically said, you know, kind of talked to me what it would be and that I could lead this building for him. And I remember coming home, my husband's name's Jack, and he said, if he's asking you to do that now, you know, you're not even finished with school.
Yeah,
you don't have the qualifications that some of the people have. If he's asking you to do that now, you can do this on your own. And I was like, okay.
That's amazing.
Okay.
I love that. We talk about like good supporting partners all the time. Literally swinging back to this guy. Like when I went to quit engineering, I had a really good paying engineering job and it was an internship and I hated it. I was just sitting in a cubicle all day. They weren't really using my brain. Like they just wanted me to use the programs and just do the work and just be done and, you know, clock in, clock out. And I love that for some people, you know, it's not for me. I was losing it. So I basically sat him down. I was like, I had so much more fun at this candy company. Like, please let me go back there, you know? As my then fiance, he was like, okay, you know, I'll let you do that. But it was a huge risk. Like, you know, he had covered us for a long time when I was in school studying, taking hard courses, with the eventual payoff that he'll be married to an engineer. You know?
Yep. That's
So
true.
then I'm
now
all of
I
a
have
sudden
Willy
going to
Wonka,
him and
so
I'm
it's
like,
Yeah. I said, now I have Willy Wonka. Oh,
Yeah.
a cuter Willy Wonka.
oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Found the golden
a
ticket.
cuter Willy Wonka,
Aw.
right?
So cute.
This is adorable.
Yeah, he's the best cheerleader. So like, but honestly, like that was huge for me because like I did not have the confidence at the time.
Mhm.
Like I know if anybody had like stopped me and been like, why don't you go back to this place? I'd be like, I had a million reasons why I shouldn't have.
Mhm.
But when I sat down and I was talking about my happiness and like what my passion was,
Yep.
he saw it. And
Yep.
he was like,
It's so important.
yeah,
That is so
Absolutely.
important.
it is so good to have like a strong partner.
Yes.
So like, is he part of your gym or does
So
he do his
he's
own
not.
thing?
Jack is actually, he's a CPA. So we live very
Okay.
two different lives, but he does help me with all the numbers of
I
the
was
business.
gonna
That's for
say,
sure.
that's
He makes
a
me
very
you know,
good.
he
yeah.
does the books. Obviously he helps me with the
Yeah.
taxes and the number. I mean,
That's
there's so much
amazing.
I would not know without him. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh,
I
yeah.
can't imagine having anybody else by my side. I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't have him. You know, I mean, life would be
Yeah.
so different. So he's
That's
not, you know,
amazing.
necessarily on the website. Like
Yeah.
this is
He's not-
our
Right.
Face is up
CFO,
there,
but
yeah. Yeah.
everybody knows who Jack is. He's a big part of it. But
That's awesome.
he doesn't like to be put on blast anyway, so he likes to be behind the stage.
Yeah,
so.
that's this guy all the time is like, you need to be the face of it. Like you worked here before we bought it, and like just you're a woman-owned business. Like be proud and loud about it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I have such a hard time like not giving him the credit
Yeah.
that he deserves of behind the scenes. It makes me emotional.
I
'cause I love him.
Oh my god.
But like
My heart's pumping because I love. Like I love
know.
this.
We've been together for almost like going on 10 years.
Yeah.
So obviously I have a lot of passion and love for him. But for me, it's just like hard to be loud and proud about me and not bring him up with me.
Right.
You know? But it doesn't matter.
Hey, but there's,
But I'm
yeah, there's too often going on there where there's like all men in business and you don't get enough.
Yeah.
There's not enough recognition about women in business. I know it's become more of a bigger thing in the past 5-10 years,
Yeah.
but still not nearly enough recognition,
The
especially in
numbers
like
show, you know.
especially
Yeah.
like in Springfield area or Twinsburg, Cleveland, like those areas you don't see a lot
Yeah.
of female-led small businesses,
Mhm.
Or
and
even
unfortunately, unless they're like boutiques, because that's
Yeah.
where a lot of like
boutiques, nail
with,
salons,
you
which
know,
love
of course,
women
like
who
there's
do that.
there's a reason
Nothing
for
wrong
that, but
with
stepping outside of that into fitness,
Yes.
such a male-dominated world,
Absolutely.
and then you
Yes.
go into like
Absolutely.
manufacturing, a male-dominated world.
Very
So it's
much,
like
yeah.
these need highlighted, these need recognized because there's a lot of hard work going in, and that's what we need to find.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm so big about that. And I know you are too. Both of you have spoke on that.
Yeah.
Last year, Beyond, actually, we did our first female athlete leadership experience to kind of talk about those things and talk about leadership barriers specific to being a female and to kind of, just educate them on what they may encounter, expose opportunities. And so it was a really cool event. Actually, Matt, was there during it. But I think the big thing is I try to tell athletes, one, in sports, it's such a great platform to learn how to become a leader.
Absolutely.
Take it into other
Yes.
areas of your life. But then also, I always tell girls, you can't expect things to be fair or to be easy or
It's
to be
not going
equal.
to be. Yeah.
It's not
It's
going to
just
be.
not going to be.
But it doesn't mean
Mhm.
it's not possible.
Yes.
So let's talk about that,
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
being able, that's a separate part of Beyond, and from the sports performance side, but
Yeah.
so big about that. And to have people like you that find it
I
important
know.
too is really,
Oh,
it's awesome.
absolutely.
It's
Appreciate
awesome.
it.
But I'm telling you, supportive people is everything. I mean, even I think
Mhm.
about the start of Beyond, I coach volleyball too on the side, still travel. And the first location Beyond opened up was inside a volleyball club called Rock City.
Okay.
And the management team there, the directors of the club, were incredibly, incredibly helpful in the beginning of Beyond. So I
That's
can't
great.
talk about Beyond without giving attention to that. Like they allowed me to rent space that wasn't even a thing
like
at
a
first.
space to be rented.
Yeah. And they allowed me to basically create a weight room in there. And I
That's
remember the
great.
goal was to move to Columbus. And they said, well, if we allow you to create this space and we help you do it, will you
We want to
stay?
stay.
Yeah,
Keep it
will
up
you
here.
stay? So
Right.
that was
Okay.
when I was like, Jack, PwC has a Cleveland office. I need you to move today.
Yeah.
You're like, guess
Yeah.
what? We're living in Cleveland.
Yeah, he's like, yay. And
That's so funny though, because like we were talking about earlier, he lived in Mansfield, and so like when college was ending, and we've been together since 20, so he was graduating and I was still in school, and so we kind of had that let's get real conversation of like, are you coming up here? Because like I told her, I was like, I don't really want to live in Mansfield, like you know.
Like, what's
Not
there?
a lot to do.
We'll go to
Yeah.
Mohican, but then like what else?
Yeah. No, really. Like we had been together long enough. I had seen every part of Mansfield there is to see in
I could
that
show you in
year
about
we were
3
dating.
hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
There wasn't a
about
whole
Yeah.
lot down there. And so then I had the realization, I'm asking you to leave your family.
Yeah.
I'm asking you to do all this for me. So there was a lot of nervousness for me when he moved up here of like, are you going to hold resentment? Like when you move up here, you have to leave your family and like what you know in your home.
Yeah.
Are you going to come up here and be like resentful?
Yeah.
Not at all. Made friends immediately. That's just how he is as a person, you
Yes.
know? But like, how was
Very
that
easygoing.
experience for you guys? Like where you're like, my career is going so well and you know you're on the brink of something amazing and
Mhm.
you're like, okay, you have to come to me, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, again, so many reasons why I love Jack. I mean, beyond, it was just an idea when I asked him to move. So I hadn't even started, right?
Yeah.
So it was basically asking him to take that leap of faith where I was like, okay, this could be really good. I think he understood. I tried so many times to get something to connect in Columbus, you
it
know?
just wasn't happening.
And it wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And I grew up, you know, in Canton, but I played volleyball in Cleveland. So I had a lot of connections with like coaches and kids, you know? So I'm like, connections are everything.
Absolutely.
So-
Especially in your line of business.
Right.
Like that's so important.
Especially,
Right.
especially in coaching too,
In
because
yes.
like when I moved up here, I coached before COVID at a small school, and then it ended up a couple year break because enrollment went down. Small school, coached last year, and then this year I'm taking a break from coaching. It's just like the same thing of like connections, and
It's everything.
it's like I was like, I also felt like you're forcing that one thing that just it doesn't seem like it's working.
Yep.
You're not like you're trying to get the
Yep.
click, but you're like, all right, I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna figure out what's gonna click, and it does reveal itself, just like Cleveland revealed itself. to you.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I think that I used to think, you know, what the place looked like was really important. And, you know, you want things to be aesthetic, right?
Oh,
But,
yeah.
you know, kids follow people, not places, you know? So
Yes.
if
Absolutely.
you have good relationship with kids already, you know, you want to build off that. And I think
Mhm.
Jack understood that. And the cool thing was the firm he worked for at the time had a location in Columbus and Cleveland. So he didn't have to
Oh,
make a huge job
amazing.
switch. It was
Yeah.
basically like, talk to
Moving
them, see if they would
offices.
allow you to move offices.
That's
And
amazing.
he did. He made the call. At first, he was like, what? Like, I remember when I first called him, he's like,
Are
what?
you
Like, the plan
crazy?
has been
Yeah.
Columbus for so long. And then I just
Yeah.
called him like, no, you know, it's going to
Yeah.
be Cleveland. But we've been blessed because we're closer to family. His sister actually just, and her boyfriend ended up moving to Cleveland. So we're all kind of coming back
Oh,
this
that's
way
great.
and we can see family more.
And
Yeah.
You're originally from the Cleveland area too, right?
Well,
Or-
I grew up in
ish.
Canton,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
North Canton. I shouldn't say Canton because
Yeah,
North Canton and
there
Canton
is a
are
difference.
different.
There is
There's
a difference. I've
they
learned
make
that
sure
since
there's
moving
since
in
we
this
moved to
area.
like the North Canton area, there's a difference.
There is a
North Canton and
difference.
Canton, yes.
So I grew up in North Canton, but so volleyball was a huge part of my life, and I played on a national team, and it was called ABC, and it's in Cleveland. So we went to Cleveland 4 times a week, you know, and got
Yeah,
really
so
close
you're
with those.
all the time up there.
Yeah.
That's quite a drive too to go
was a
that
drive.
frequently.
Love my parents, love them because I couldn't do it without them. You know,
Yeah.
That's one thing I tell the kids all the time: go home and tell your parents thank you. Because
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, my mom, like, she really showed me perseverance in careers. Like,
Mhm.
she did payroll for her job.
Okay.
And so she's in large corporations, and, you know, the executives are usually men, like, just back to what we were talking about.
Yep.
And so she was kind of like the first voice to be like, you are incredible, you are smart, you can do this, you know. Love my mom. So I'm like
Guess you
emotional
can't-
can I-
today.
like-
What is
in
the
case you
deal?
can't tell, she is a crier.
I'm a huge crier all the time.
I just
I'm
feel
more
like
crying
you
today.
need a
I don't know what it
hug.
is. No.
Okay.
These-
It'll be
Nicole
okay.
and Griff are so used to me. They're like,
Okay.
she's fine. She'll dry up in a minute. You know?
I think I did see you, like, you guys were on a podcast together,
Oh,
and I was
this
like,
girl making me cry.
yeah, she's like, I'm
yeah.
gonna make Rachel cry, and you're like,
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm just a crier in general, and like the people who I just feel love for, I feel it so deeply. And my mom's one of those people.
Mhm.
She inspired me so much. All right, new subject where I'm not gonna grow.
Yes.
But anyways,
Back
yeah.
to growing up in North Canton
Yes, it
and
was so
how
fun.
great your parents are.
my dad is a teacher in Canton City School, so he's still working.
That's awesome.
Dad, I love you. I forget what grade he has this year. I want to say 4th grade, because sometimes they switch year to year.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's great with the kids, and he also coaches cross country. So I was always around him being a coach,
Yeah,
and being a
that's
teacher
probably
and working
great.
with kids.
Comes back to like your natural leadership, probably
Yes.
a little bit in touch with that.
A
That's
lot like
great.
both my parents in different ways. And then my mom was a speech pathologist for Canton City Schools as well, but she retired years ago, so she's enjoying being a grandma.
Oh, my mom's the same way.
Yes.
Like she just retired last year, and she is just like full-time grandma all the time. Like
Mhm.
she's obsessed with my son, like obsessed, and she knows it too. Like that kid is spoiled by both his grandmas, like absolutely spoiled kid.
Yes.
So like I love that, like when they can finally retire and just like enjoy,
Yeah.
that's like the best thing to watch your parents just enjoy like,
retirement and enjoy being able to spend time with Jackson's his name. And now that she's been a grandma, she's like, okay, when am I going to get more grandchildren? I'm like, mama, beyond development is my child.
Right.
I get that completely. Like when
I'm growing a business that I can't take time away to do that.
Not yet. And even my athletes, they're like, because I've been married now a little bit over a year. So they're like, when's the
time's ticking. Yeah.
Like,
where
you
is
guys
it?
are my children.
Yes. That's how we were. So we had our son in 2023. And we got married in 2020. So but we've been together since 2016. So like,
wow,
his mom especially wanted a grandkid real bad. So she was always like, when am I getting that kid? You know? And I was just like, we have so much to figure out. Like, it's just times are a little different now.
Yes.
If we want to have careers, like it's hard to be a mom and like a powerful businesswoman at the same
like
time.
National statistics don't lie when they show that families are starting later and later.
Right.
And they, each generation's pushing that back further because having especially when you're growing businesses and trying to have a career,
you're moving, your education,
especially
like all that,
especially in this economy.
I was gonna say everything's more expensive too, so it's like
formula and diapers.
Yes.
We could have bought a whole second house.
Oh, absolutely.
With the price we've spent on formula and diapers for that kid, but it's worth it. But
that's a huge thing with female entrepreneurship, and this is a conversation I have a lot. People ask me, "Well, what's your long-term goal with Beyond?" Right? You know, I think about NST is where I worked, and they have, I think it's like 6 locations. I'll be honest, that's not what I'm trying to do, because if you look, they're a successful business, but they don't have a lot of women that stay in the company long term.
Yeah.
And I think that becomes part of the problem is, usually you want to become a mom one day. So the big thing I think about is if I could get Beyond to the point where I have more freedom of my time, a location is running smoothly, the service is quality service, employees are happy, they're getting paid well. And I'm going to be honest, I don't need to cut myself a huge check. If you have kind of passive income,
and be passionate about what you're doing
and have time for your kids. I'm like, time, if I can get time, then I think that's success.
Yeah.
Is time,
In the long run for us, like that's been a huge part of owning our business is like having the ability to 100% be there for our son. Obviously not every day goes perfectly, but like when it's his doctor's visits, I don't think you've missed even a single one. Like even my pregnancy, he has been there.
I missed his last one, but just the
first
one.
Right.
First
you
one I
missed the most recent one.
So the most recent
one. You didn't have to let people know that. That could have been a little secret.
Honesty here.
Yeah.
Integrity,
but like genuinely, like he has been so present in our son's life more than most dads get to be. And I can see the difference that it makes for our son. Like I think that's huge. It's a huge benefit that owning our business has given us. But it's also very hard. Like you have to kind of just live through it. Like there were days where he was awake all night and we still had to get into work at 5-6 a.m. the next day, and you still have to work a long shift, or you have to work on machinery or equipment, call customers, do meetings. You go home, you still have to feed them, you have to take care of them. They're not going to just go to sleep because you're tired.
Right.
They're not going to just sit on the couch because you're tired. Like you're going to have to be a parent too. You're going to have to show up for them, you know? So like the responsibility is a lot, but it's very rewarding because
Right.
you do get to be a little more flexible. It's just you're gonna have days where it's really hard and you can't just call off work.
Right.
You know,
You
you have
gotta
to
show
show
up.
up no matter
Yeah, you
what
gotta
because
show up.
the buck stops with you.
Right.
But it's so worth it. Like for us, it was so worth it. It was a huge part of our early journey where
Absolutely.
like he was not sleeping
Yep.
through the night and we were just like dying every single day and like so stressed to our absolute maximum. But it was so nice at the same time. Like we loved it. And now that he's sleeping through the night, things are a little bit more calm. You know,
Mhm.
we look back on that era and we're like, you know what, we did that.
Yeah.
Like, we did that thing, you know? Yeah.
Look at us.
So it's possible, but I don't get me wrong. Before we have another one, if we ever have another one, my friends are always like, "You say you won't have more, but you keep saying."
Oh.
Nicole's sitting over there like,
oh.
but before we even consider it, I'm like, I know that that's not going to be like something that we could probably survive more than once. Like we'll have to be in a different place.
Yeah, it goes back to the time thing. You know,
Yeah.
it's not always about cutting the biggest check. And I think when the biggest misconception about small business is you own your own business, you have a lot of money.
Yeah, you're millionaires.
promise
yeah.
you,
I wish.
I wish I was. I am not.
Yeah, we're out here trying to like build something that can
Yep.
bring up the
Right.
people around
But
us.
but also
Yes.
like
And support them
time's
and stuff.
priceless, and the fact that there is no
Absolutely.
that's the one finite thing about life
Yep.
that you're gonna
You're
get
never
is
gonna get more time.
you
than
have you have
whatever
a clock
have.
and that clock is ticking, and when that clock
Mhm.
stops ticking, there's no changing that clock.
Yep.
Mhm.
But you
Yep.
can always DoorDash, Uber, Uber
Yeah.
Eats,
So you
Uber.
spend a little
You can
more
always
for
find
the
more
simple
cash. That's
stuff,
always
yeah.
like quick
Yeah.
grab things that you could
Mhm.
get more cash, or I need additional income. I want to grow this business even more doing this, or
Yep.
passive income doing this.
Yep.
But that's
Yeah.
just time's
Yep.
just
Which
It's-
comes back to like what you were saying too, of like when you first started,
Mhm.
you were just in a gym that wasn't necessarily your gym. It was an aesthetic,
Yep.
which is okay.
Yep.
Like you have to start somewhere, start small,
Start small.
So like, what did that look like for you?
Yeah.
Starting small.
Yeah, so I had an opportunity with Rock City Volleyball. They had this space in the corner of the club that was about 900 square feet. And so we basically filled that with equipment,
Mhm.
and that was the first location of Beyond Development. And I just was honored to speak at a female leadership kind of conference or organization a little bit ago about this very thing. At the beginning of Beyond, like there wasn't even flooring, it was just concrete floor.
Yeah.
We didn't have all the equipment in, and people were still showing up.
Yeah.
And that meant a lot to me. I'm like, okay, people find value not in the physical part of the business, but the mission of it, the people that are part of it.
Mhm.
And when I say people, at that time it was just me. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I got something good going.
Yeah. The value is there.
The
Yeah.
values were there. And so, over time, finally that floor came in. The equipment's great equipment, but it's a small space. But at
Mhm.
first, you don't have any clientele you're trying to build. And it
Mhm.
started to get to the point where, okay, I felt like it's congested. It's becoming a little unsafe, or not unsafe, but the training was a little watered down.
Yeah.
I was getting
You're only
overwhelmed, and I
working
felt
with
like
so
I
much
could,
space.
yeah. And I felt like, okay, I can handle a lot. But when I start feeling overwhelmed, that's when you need help.
right.
So then I was like,
Yes.
okay, maybe I try to get an intern. So I started I would go on Handshake. Do you guys know Handshake? It's like
I just recently like had someone mention it to me.
Yes.
Because I was like, where can I find some great people?
Handshake.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So I want because it's kids in college, and you can
Mhm.
find based on exactly what you want them to be majoring in.
Mhm.
But I posted an internship on there, and got an intern.
That's amazing.
And from there, it started to grow more and more. I was able to, finally hire my first employee part-time. And ever since, it's been growing. And this summer we opened up our second location, which is about 4,000 square feet.
yeah, I
So-
saw that. I mean, it's looking
Little
spacious
difference in
and nice.
size.
Just a little.
Little difference
I
in
feel
size.
like I go in there and I just run. I just run. I'm like, I have space, it's
That's awesome.
exciting.
That is so
And
awesome.
at the same time, like I stand by, it's not about the aesthetics, it's not about the turf, but
Mhm.
still, if you're, once you get
helps.
to the point
Yeah.
where you can market your business a little bit better,
Mhm.
you can invest in those things,
Absolutely.
you should do it.
Absolutely.
And I
Absolutely.
think, like you said earlier, people follow people, and it's like
Yeah.
it comes off some people have the ability to read through people pretty easily, you know what I mean? And especially when you're working with a certain demographic of people, kids are really good about understanding, is this like a safe space or not? Especially nowadays,
Yes.
that's a big thing that
Yes.
people are like, this has to be a safe space for the kid, and that comes through. That should always be number one.
Always.
And the big thing is like, especially like since like meeting you shout out to Brendan Sadler as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys are both are just like such
He's a great
energetic
guest, man.
and like
Yeah.
genuine people, and there's no other way that comes through genuine every time.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's like the number one thing that
It's so important.
when it comes to, especially what you guys are doing, that I feel like that's always has to be number one.
It does. And, I meet with the parent and an athlete every time before they sign up for Beyond. And that's such an important moment. The assessment allows the parent to see, okay, who is my kid going to work with?
Yeah.
Are we comfortable
Building
with this?
trust with you.
Building
Yeah, that's
trust
important.
and not in a manipulative way, but the parents are the ones that are signing their kid up. The kid is
Yeah,
going to,
they're
they
writing
might be
the checks.
excited,
Yeah.
but they're the ones that are signing on the line. And so as much as you're selling to the kid, they want to do it, you're selling to those parents, and it's got to be a safe spot. It
Exactly.
absolutely does. So
yeah, that's
um,
great. So what part of like your business, like obviously you're training with the kids and everything. I know a big thing for you, because I did a little research,
ooh.
was kind of like your other side of it, where it's not just their physical like athlete self, but
Yep.
like their emotional side, their
Yep.
mental side, spiritual side. So like how do you bring that into your training?
So important. So the slogan of Beyond Development is training from the inside out. So I remember when I wanted to start this, I knew that sports performance is a highly saturated market. There's lots of choices. What's going to make us different? And I always refer back to my time at Buffalo. My
Mhm.
coaches started these things called Mentality Mondays. And every Monday for 45 minutes, we would talk about, okay, what does focus actually mean? What does leadership look like? How do you actually hold each other accountable? I mean, you hear discipline, accountability, confidence. You hear these words all the time in sports.
In every
Mhm.
locker room.
In every locker
All the
room,
time.
the
Every
kids
single
know
locker
they're the
room.
right words. But if
Mhm.
I ask a kid, tell me what discipline is, they have no idea what it is. They
Yeah.
don't know. They
How
don't
do
know
you
the
practice
definition.
that? Like what really? Let's
Yeah.
dive deep. Yeah.
And
yeah.
if you don't know what something means, how do you put action behind it, right?
Absolutely.
So I call those the intangibles, right? The invisible stat sheet.
Yeah.
So what we do is we have mentality topics, and we talk about how do you build confidence, what are strategies you can use? What does discipline really mean? Even this week we talked about, I stand by this, leadership is not about being liked. So how do you deal with, rejection and when people aren't listening to you? And it takes about
Yes.
10 minutes at the beginning of each session.
Mhm.
But that slogan and that mission has also led me to doing workshops with schools and talking to athletic directors. Like I got asked to speak at athletic director conference, and Jack's like, "Why'd they call you?" I'm like, "I don't know, but I'm doing it."
Yeah,
I'm
who
excited.
knows?
Give me the microphone.
I love that because
But-
like I get imposter syndrome and stuff like
Oh
that,
my
where
gosh,
they're
it's
like,
so
"Can
real.
you come and like do this?" And I'm just like, "You think I'm
Me?
qualified?
And I
Like me?
I mean, I
Really?"
think that's a great topic as well. Not to change that real quick, but also it's a big thing that I know that like as a younger entrepreneur,
Mhm.
that's really hard to get over is when
Imposter syndrome. man.
the imposter syndrome is just like, am I really qualified
It might-
to be
yeah.
doing
Or
this?
it's
Like,
like,
I have
when are they gonna find
Right.
out?
It's-
No, I'm
it's
just
like-
kidding.
Yeah,
When are
right?
they
It's
gonna
like
find
we
out?
have-
When are they
have
gonna
10
know I actually don't know
No, but-
anything?
but we typically employ about 10 full-time people. Like we're 2 of them, and we
Mhm.
have 8 other families that we're responsible for in every decision we make.
Yep.
Mhm.
So it's like,
We think about that all the time.
and
Yeah.
that's
We're
the thing
like,
is like that's a big thing that we
it's a lot
preach is
of
like, and I think
pressure.
that's what when we took over, our big thing was like the culture that we wanted to bring was, if you burn out, you have a problem, open
Communicate
open
with
communication,
us.
because I came from the corporate world,
Yep.
and
Mhm.
communication a lot of times falls on deaf ears.
Yep.
As you can say, I'm
'Cause you're just
unhappy with this,
speaking
I'm
to a
unhappy with
manager
this.
who has a
All right,
manager
well,
and a
here's
manager.
what they're gonna say, or here's what the job chart looks like. So here's what I can say because HR tells me to say this, or this. If I'm not happy in my current position, well, you got to be here so long to be able to move into this position.
Mhm.
It's like that's
It's like
Yeah.
that's great, but it's
yeah.
also like, let me
it limits
be the best
so
version
many
of you.
people.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Like, and especially when it comes to posture, I'm like, I hope I'm doing this
I hope I'm doing it right.
Yeah.
I hope I'm doing it right
Yeah.
every day. I
mean,
have
Every
that
single
the
day.
thought.
fact that
Every
you're
day.
here though shows that you are. Like the fact that you're willing to take that leap.
Yep.
That is what is different about us versus people who don't want this life,
Mhm.
who don't want to be entrepreneurs, small business owners, women in business, whatever your calling is. You have to have that little piece in your heart to go against the grain,
Yep.
go against that thought of like, am I supposed to be doing this? Am I supposed to be like, the person on the call, But the fact is like, you do have a space because I started somewhere, you've started
Right.
somewhere, you started small, he started small, and so like when you find what your passion is, if you just go all in on it, then you're golden.
Well, and that even goes back, even just the conversation we're having of that internal talk, right? Because those are thoughts we have. We don't talk to people about it every day.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But that's exactly what athletes go through on the court, right?
Absolutely.
They're having this internal dialogue
that
a
shot
lot of times
or make that mistake.
And
it's negative.
Growing up playing sports, I think the biggest thing, I had like two or three people that we played a lot of sports together, and I'm still good. And we've talked to them. We talk to them still to this day, and we've had them on our podcast. My friend Caleb Young, a Young Family
Farms.
Farms.
To get him on this podcast. He's in harvest season though. So.
Come on, Caleb, show up.
So he's in full harvest season.
So
but it's like since the time we were 15 years old, we could call each other out on no matter what it is and have the open communication, because it's like that drove me to be better. It drove him to be better. We were together in the weight room. We were together on the court. At the time, you went to, at that time, you would go to, and quotes, you go to war together, and that of like, hey, we're here to do this. This is an intense thing that we're doing together, and I got your back. I know where you're going to be. I know what you're going to be doing. And if something goes on, you got my back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a huge part of team building.
And having, having that open communication of like, sometimes, hey man, I'm struggling mentally over this.
Yeah.
Be able to have that person to talk to, and most of all, your teammate who is going through that same thing with you.
The thing I say is the foundation of success whenever I do workshops is always relationship. And so when I go do these workshops and we focus on more of the mental and emotional side, it's really getting the athletes to learn how to build those relationships and how to communicate like that. I'll say, a lot of times young athletes don't know how to hold people accountable or how to check in. They know usually what number jersey they wear, what boyfriend they're dating, what their Instagram handle is. Yeah. And then past that, you don't know unless you're absolutely best friends.
Yeah. And ask like, how are you? Have that empathy
and mean
part
it
of you. Yes.
Not just how are you? I'm good.
And
good.
Then zone out,
Yeah.
But like really, if you see your friend struggling, if you see a teammate struggling, like sit there and ask questions. It's okay. Like sometimes that's all somebody needs. Like it helps to talk about it. Like we were just saying, those negative thoughts, you can get caught in a thought loop. Like I do that to myself all the time. It's huge with anxiety all the time. My therapist and I talk about it. And so like our big thing, we're on this mental health journey for ourselves. Like it makes you a better leader. It makes you better at what you're doing.
Yes.
And I have learned talking about it is 100% the key of overcoming it.
100%.
You'll forever just convince yourself.
Always.
Well, just yesterday, I feel like on average we have at least 3 criers a week, and I like
one's like
you're
me.
3 times today.
3 times in like 10 minutes too, right?
Yeah, seriously. It'll be several more before the end of the day.
But it's weird because this sounds evil, but I get like excited, like, ooh, tears, let's break it down.
Yeah, talk
Why
about
are you crying?
It. Yeah.
So actually yesterday I had a young athlete, she wasn't doing the exercise right, and I was like, hey, you need to speed up, you're not doing that with intensity, do it right or don't do it at all. Love you, but let's fix it.
Yeah.
And I could just see, that's what we're here for. And I could just see in her body language, her eyes, it wasn't the weight, it wasn't where it was something else. So she needed to take a breather. And we just started team training, so I didn't know this athlete that well. I didn't even know her name yet. It's new. And she just started crying, and I'm fine, going to the bathroom. I said, no, come here. So we talked for like 20 minutes. I said, you got caught with the wrong coach, my friend, because I am not going to let you cry, go to the bathroom and come back and act like nothing happened. And in the past with sports, this is the big thing that goes back to train from the inside out, is I think we preach this mental toughness, get through it. And it's like, sometimes people are going through really tough things, or maybe if we address it, they'll learn how to work through it. If a kid has the wrong footwork, if they have the wrong mechanics, you're going to fix that right away, because you don't want them to have long-term, bad form.
Right.
But the moment emotionally or mentally they show a sign of weakness, we're almost more lenient with that.
Let's get through it. Just get to the exercise,
So I wanted to create an urgency to cater to that side of the athlete.
Yeah.
Why not cater to that?
Which is honestly brilliant, because you've seen it in your coaching. When you have an athlete, or even just every day, that sets a foundation for how they can approach everything in their life.
Yes.
If you are having a rough mental day and you're constantly reassured by just being told, okay, go in the bathroom, brush it off, come back out, new mindset, keep going. well, you're not dealing with that.
Right.
It's going to stay
Right.
there, you know, and then that becomes a mental block. And then that
Absolutely.
mental block becomes something bigger. And then
Mhm.
all of a sudden you're not following your
No,
dreams
I've-
because you don't believe you can
I've
do
coached
it.
kids that have all the potential and every physical ability you'd want as a coach. You're like, this kid's got it.
Yes.
And then like one thing goes wrong and it
Boom.
flips a
Mental
switch, and you're
block.
like,
yeah.
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
we got to work through some of this because you won't be able to reach your physical potential if you're not mentally strong, because there's gonna be a lot of barriers on your way to that
Mm-hmm.
that you got to make sure that you can get through this, whether it's we talk between every practice, every game, or you find somebody who can be in a, you know, you can have those open conversations
Or you
with.
send them to Beyond Development.
Yeah,
Yes.
So
nice little plug there.
Yeah.
But like just trying to get them through like that part of like, here's what you're going through mentally. Like we can physically we can get through this, but like mentally we need to find help to get
Yep.
through those things.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, you know, I've had kids, like the weight room doesn't always need, most of the time they come in, we're moving weight, but it doesn't always need to be that. You know, if a kid comes in and that bar is not moving, talk to them. You know, I always tell
Yeah.
my coaches, ask them what's going on. Never force a kid, you know, obviously if they don't want to open up.
Sometimes you have an off day and you
have an off
can't
day.
force it. Like there's days where I want to go do my hot yoga so bad. Like I just want it. And, you know, and I'm just like, you know what? My body needs rest and my mind needs rest more than I need to go
Yep.
sweat it out in a 95-degree room right now.
Well,
just know when it's not the right time.
No, when it's not the right time. And I've had kids come in and instead we talk about, you know, their family dynamic for an hour, or I've sat down and color coded school schedules and homework. When are you going to do your homework? Because
Yeah.
that's what's stressing them out.
That's
You know,
important.
so
Yeah.
it's like, I want them to know, yes, we're going to push you when you come in, but the days where it doesn't make sense, we'll figure out what the solution
Yeah,
is.
we'll
while
be
you're
your
here.
comfort.
Yeah.
We'll be your confidence
We'll
when
push
you're
you in a
lacking
different
it.
way.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So it's awesome to be that person. Sometimes
Yeah.
I talk too much. Like sometimes I'm like way too more on the side of let's talk about life
Yeah.
instead of like let's move weight. And I'm like,
Right.
okay, get back in the weight
yeah,
room.
Yeah.
Like,
You're like,
okay,
let's chit chat.
Yeah,
you
I'm
know?
total chit chat.
I fall into that all the time. We're like, I'll have an employee. We're like trying to bust out production. But like sometimes it's nice to just sit and talk about their life. Like
Yeah.
I want to know how my employees are doing. I want to know how their families are doing. Because if you're struggling at home all the time, like in your corporate positions, stuff like that, they kind of just are like, show up and do the work and go home. Well,
Mhm.
I want to care about you as a person, and
Absolutely.
I want to be empathetic to that. You're not going to put your best in at work if you're struggling. Like if you
Absolutely.
have stuff going on and like life's just kicking you in the ass, like
We
I
don't
get
want, and we
that,
also
you
don't
know?
want it to be another stressor. Obviously, work
Right.
for anybody's going to be
right.
a
yeah,
stressor
I
of
mean,
some
nobody
sort, but like also
dreams
like
of making
don't
candy,
I don't want you to come here and stress
No,
about
yeah.
some,
this.
some might. Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
don't want you to come here and stress about this. I want you to like be able to come here and like be like, all right,
Enjoy
Yeah,
your
I'm
work.
clocking in.
I'm
doing
doing
my
enjoy the
job,
best
yeah.
you can. As much as we can all enjoy work, let's enjoy that the best we can.
Mhm,
I try to be that
definitely.
way too. I always ask, and not sometimes it's like imposter syndrome. Like, am I doing what I should? As
Oh,
I don't
have that
even
all
like
the
to use.
time.
Quite honestly, I don't even like to use the word boss. Like,
Right.
don't like I don't know. You know, I'm
Yeah,
like, but
I'm the same exact
don't
way.
call me
so
boss.
just-
We are a team. We're
Right.
a team. You know,
I tell Nicole,
I think we're like
all
we're
the time the
equals.
same
we're
thing.
we're
Like,
all equals. We are.
We are, but like,
Well, that
right.
goes back to like good leadership. I have always felt like being a good leader means like making your team feel really supported.
Yes.
So like if they're feeling like they're constantly serving you, they're filling from their cup into your business constantly,
Well,
and they're not getting much other than a paycheck out of it, which don't get me wrong, some people just want the paycheck out of it.
That's
Totally
fine.
fine.
Right.
But also like I want to provide more for you.
Right.
I know you're just here making candy and it's probably not going to be your forever job. I get that. What else can I provide for you? Like can
Right.
I give you more knowledge? Can I
Right.
help you in other aspects of your life? Give you grace in areas that other employers don't have the time, the money, the energy to do?
Absolutely.
Let us be that for you, you
Yeah.
know, because
and
that
there's also that
will
old
give you-
adage of, you know, the alpha wolf always leads from the back of the pack, not the
Mhm.
front of the pack.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because
Support
you're
your
only as
team,
strong
yeah.
as your weakest one in the pack.
Absolutely.
So like
Yeah.
if we're all moving together at the same speed, we're
Yeah.
going to move quicker.
And we
Absolutely.
found like
together.
sometimes employees just don't thrive in that environment.
Right.
It's totally fine.
Right. No, I mean it always goes back to people. There's power in people. And
Mhm.
even just thinking, you know, I knew in this talk I'd probably reflect on like, well, okay, how did Beyond get to this point?
Mhm.
It couldn't have happened without very special people in my life that we built a relationship and they rooted for me
Right.
and allowed Beyond to get to a certain position, you know? Like I even think about, you know, being inside Rock City, and then we also now are doing team training for another club called Force. But at both locations, I've had people vouch for Beyond and vouch for me that we're going to create a quality service, but that's because they knew me,
Right.
you know? And so, but that's because of the support and getting to know and taking the time and having that open communication. It's just so important. Always goes back to that.
Absolutely.
You know, if anybody's like, what's the biggest advice, is invest in people. Invest in people.
Do the things that don't even provide monetary value.
Yes.
Like I really do believe I am where I am because I was doing things for free for people that probably should have paid me for it, or I don't even care that I didn't get paid for it. Like I was constantly just doing favors, and we see it all the time. I might have to call in that favor, or I might need to like call somebody up and say, hey, help me out here. And they show up for you because you showed up for them, and they will not forget that.
Absolutely.
There's so much value in that.
It was like just a couple days ago, we had on our drum that breaks up the candy when it comes down the line, one of the metal brackets is completely just busted off. And at that point, the drum is everywhere. No, the thing is like, I fixed it. I fixed that. But it was like, I called one of my buddies as well. I was like, hey, like, I need like this certain type of drill that I don't have here. And like, he's like, all right, I'm about 15 minutes away. I can be there. Just showed up, did it. We did it. Never asked for a single thing. But it's like, again, it comes back to the relationship that we've built. He has my back. I have his back. You know, I've done favors for him. He's done favors for me. It's never like well, I've done this for you, so you got to owe me this. It's just like, hey, you call, I'm there.
Yeah.
Like, I have your back.
And I think one thing I hope people understand with small business is sometimes you want to give way more than you can.
Exactly.
And I always talk to Jack about that, is like, I had a coach meeting, you know, this Monday. We have another one on Monday. And I even feel weird calling it a staff meeting because staff feels like so official. But anyways, but I sit there and I feel, one, just so blessed that this group of 5 people have decided, you know, I'm going to work for Beyond.
Yeah, I'm going to follow you.
You know, I'm going to follow you. But I also wish they understood how much more I wish I could give them for certain, like, obviously they feel valued, they're there, but like, I want to give you more.
Yes.
You know,
I wish I could pay all of our employees $1 million a year.
Right.
Like, the value that we hold in our employees is so high. It's my biggest expense, but it's also the most important for us.
Right.
I don't think that people out there in the world realize that, because like when you work for Walmart or McDonald's, COVID's a great example. They throw money at the situation.
Yes.
You can't find workers. Okay, we'll pay you this much to come in. We'll pay you this much to start working for us, because they desperately needed it.
Can't afford to pay you that.
Small businesses like us, we're like, listen, like I can't just float us like that. You know, I can't just price jack like crazy like everybody else is doing, because there is an ethical side to things, you know?
Right.
So like you do find yourself in a lot of ways like sitting there like, man, I really wish I could give more to this. I wish I could, in monetary value, time, everything. But like, I think it just comes back to your people, like the love, the empathy, the excitement, that
genuineness,
yes, that you provide for them. They will go and take that and represent it in your business too, you know?
Well, and I think back to like, okay, the first internship I did, unpaid, was working well over 40 hours a week. But what made me feel valued was the experience, the skills I was getting out of it. And then that I felt like I had a voice, like I had influence in it. So I always want my coaches to know, like, hey, if you have an idea, if you want something to change, if you need to correct me, tell me what's up. So I feel like if you allow people to have a voice, or they feel like they have influence and they're not just puppets. Okay, that brings more value and makes them, you know, it goes beyond the pay.
Can have them like come to you with great ideas.
Yeah.
Like I don't know everything about candy. I don't know everything about, you know, manufacturing. They're doing it every day.
Yeah.
They are the people acting out what I need done. So if they come to me and they're like, I've got this idea, I'm like, do it.
Yeah.
Let's try it. You know,
let's see if it works.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, we know not to do that again.
Right.
If we're doing something the same for 72 straight years, that doesn't mean it's the perfect way to do it.
Right.
You know, it just means that's how we've done it. You know?
Right. And it's so good to have voices of reassurance when you need it. Because I feel like sometimes as the boss or the leader, people think you have it all together all the time. But it's not.
Could not be more wrong.
So last week, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? So So I just moved into this new location right in the summer.
Mhm.
And it needed a lot of upgrades, but you need to get clientele first, right? So I
Yeah.
had to basically make it through the summer before investing money back into like new equipment, turf, whatever.
Absolutely makes
So
sense. Yeah.
finally get to the point, order brand new equipment, all excited, right? Racks are coming in, let's go.
Mhm.
Turf, like I've never gotten turf before.
That's amazing.
So they lay down the turf, okay?
Mm.
The next day, I go in there, I get a call from the building manager. He's like, hey, there was some leaks in the building. They're like, they're gonna repair the roof. I'm like, yes. I was so
Amazing,
excited because
yeah.
I'm like, no leaks on the
You're
turf.
like, I don't
no
have
leaks.
to pay for a new roof.
No, because
and
landlord takes care of it.
Yeah, I love that.
So they're like, you're gonna have to shut down for the day. And I said, that's fine. Because it's really easy, small business. Hey guys, we gotta shut down for the day. We'll be back to
Right.
So there was a problem with the turf color. And I said, well, I'm gonna still come in and look at the turf with the turf guy.
Mhm.
And they said, that's okay. You can go around the roofers.
Mhm.
We go in there. Okay. We're standing in there. The drop ceiling collapses.
On your
Boom.
brand new turf.
Brand new turf. Nothing's covered. I said, somebody bring out the cameras. I'm on a prank show right now.
Oh,
I'm
You're
on
like,
a-
Ashton
no.
Kutcher, where are you?
I was like, this is my moment. Yeah.
No.
You know that show, What Would You Do? What's his name?
Oh,
I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
I was
his
just
name, but
like,
I know
he's
what you're
gonna come
talking
out of the
about.
corner.
Yeah,
Ashton
yeah,
Kutcher's
yeah,
gonna come
Right.
out of the corner. So yeah, like that. This past actually
Mm.
couple weeks was like some of the most challenging. Where I'm like, I'm frustrated. It's nobody's like fault. Kind of
Yeah, you
roofers,
can't.
like,
Yeah, you
what are
can't
we doing?
handle-
What are we
yeah.
doing?
Right.
Yeah.
But my
Just
coaches
happens
and like
that way,
my
yeah.
fellow, they were very reassuring, and to have that positivity because
Oh my gosh.
sometimes if you're by yourself, you're handling it on your own.
Yeah. I experienced that very real not too long ago. So we have this our facility, and we make candy on open fire kettles, like copper kettles, old fashioned style. So
Okay.
it's like open flames.
Yeah.
Well, I'm like walking in and out of our front door, and I smell gas, and I've smelled it a couple times before, but not super strong, to the point where I was like, okay, maybe it's just in my head.
Yeah.
I walked out, and there must have been like a big gust of wind or something, and I really smelled it that time. And there was just something in me that was like, you can't ignore it this time.
No.
Like, call
Yeah.
someone. I call the gas company. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna have to shut you down. And mind you, like, everyday loss of production in this time of year is the worst. Like the worst.
Because it's not like we have
case
more
scenario.
days to
Yeah.
plug that back
Yeah.
in. It's
So
like we're already
Griff and
maxed
Nicole
the
are
guild,
like, why did you call
We're
the
like,
gas company? Like, why would you do that? Because they're thinking like, we already don't have enough time. You
Right.
know? So for me, it just was in me, and I was just like, for some reason, I just couldn't let it go that day. Thank God,
To
because it
reiterate,
actually was.
you did do the right thing.
I did do the right thing. They know I did the right thing. They were
Yes.
like on my side, but they also were like,
Absolutely.
"What are you thinking?"
Yeah.
Like, why would you call now? Call in a month,
Yeah.
But for me, I like just couldn't let it go at that moment, and like we got it fixed and everything. But like immediately when he was like, "I'm shutting you down," I immediately was like, "No!" Like, no. And that's when like my team stepped in and was like, we're gonna clean, we're gonna do this, we're still gonna come in, we're gonna help you with this and that. And like they
Like,
were
what can we do here that doesn't
for me.
require us to fire up those kettles or use the gas? So
Yeah,
we'll
and
make
so,
sure all
like,
this other stuff gets done this day.
oh.
Instead of just making candy, we'll make sure we're caught up on all
so
this
like
stuff.
thank God for like our team. They
That
were
is
so
amazing.
Not only that, but like they had to actually stop in the middle of their batches. And
Yeah.
so like you don't know candy like off the top of your head, but like
No.
hot sugar just sitting there and getting
It'll just
cold,
solidify.
it's gonna ruin
Yeah.
the batch.
So
It's not
we
only
lose
creating a huge mess for
Two
them,
full batches, including maybe the one
lots
we
of
have
work.
on. All
Yeah.
that stuff.
So I walked over and I said, I'm sorry, you guys. I called the gas company and they shut our gas off. So like you guys are gonna have to just stop where you are. And I've got peanut brittle on my augers. I've got, it's gonna be a mess for them to
Yeah.
clean up. And they all were just like such a strong team mentality of it, of like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, just tell us what you need. We'll execute it and get
Yeah.
it done. And like, what do you know? Monday morning, we're ready, up and running. Everything's sparkly clean, looks beautiful in the facility.
we
They
missed
followed
one
through
day.
for us.
That's
we just lost
amazing.
one day.
That's
But,
amazing.
The moment of it, though, I was not
yeah,
feeling
in
the
the
power
moment.
of positivity.
Because
Oh,
he's like,
yeah,
well,
right.
at first they're like, we gotta find it, see where it's at, and if we can't find it, we gotta dig it up.
they had
And
to,
if we
like,
dig
dig
it up, it's gonna
up.
do
Yeah.
all of this,
Oh,
and if
my
we do all of
goodness.
this, it's gonna be shut down even longer. So we're like, great, this could be like several days, a
Yes.
week, and
Yeah.
we just
Mhm.
absolutely cannot afford that. Then
Yeah.
it's like the guy's like, oh yeah, Super Eats, I found exactly where it was. I'll
Yeah.
get it fixed. I'll put this new part on. It'll be fixed by Monday morning. You guys will be good to go.
Mhm.
We're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
No, I feel
Makes
that.
all the difference.
It's
in the
those things.
world.
It doesn't. NBA didn't prepare me for that.
Seriously.
It doesn't. You just
School does
you
not
live,
teach you how to
No.
actually run a business. Like it teaches you a lot of important.
It does.
stuff, but when you're running a business,
You live. Just by living
you're
it.
just
you
trying
learn.
to survive.
Well,
It's a dog eat dog world.
It
out there.
is. When the drop ceiling first fell, like it was that moment where I was like, oh my gosh. But it was going, they told me even in that moment, you could still open the next day. So I went in at night to check. I kid you not. I'll show you the videos after.
Sparkly clean?
No,
Oh.
I had to shut down for the week. My feet looked like I was walking on a desert, like rocks. Like there were, like, it was like I was outside. You wouldn't have known.
They're like picked up the chunks and that's
They're
it.
picking up chunks. I'm like, okay, so we're shutting down for the week. This isn't open tomorrow. But I completely relate to those things. But having positive people around you, all
that
about
helps.
power
in those
positivity.
moments.
I make every kid every day when they come in like, what's your highlight of the day? Because I'm like, we are going to be positive here.
I love that.
If the roof falls,
Morale
at
is
least
so
the sun
important,
still's
too.
out.
Yeah.
Sun's out.
Hey, at least you can see the sky now.
Yeah, we got a nice breeze in here.
Yeah.
The air
That's
quality might be a
amazing.
little bad. Don't breathe too hard, but
You're like, if you get any breathing problems, it was not from here. Please
No.
sign this legal liability
Yeah,
paper.
hey, everybody
Right at the
sign
bottom.
it.
Don't read it.
Mask
Don't
on.
read it. Just go ahead and sign this, please.
no, we're good. We're back to normal. Everything's
Yeah.
good. Air quality's great.
That's amazing.
So,
well, I
but-
know like we've taken a good bit of time up for you. So thank you so much for coming on our podcast. I definitely want to have you back. We could
Yes.
talk for hours, I think, but I won't make you.
No, that's okay. This
So
has been fun.
thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming on.
And
Is there
be-
anything you want
yeah,
to shout out?
absolutely.
Like obviously
got it.
Beyond. Go ahead, give yourself a
Yes,
little shout
if
out.
you are looking for any sports performance, also mental and emotional, training, that component of being a competitor, come to Beyond Development. We have some adult training stuff going to be revealed in 2025. So just stay tuned. Follow us on
Whoop, whoop.
Instagram and Facebook.
Mhm. Awesome. Well,
Yes.
again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
Absolutely. We can't wait to have you back. All right, you guys, that's a wrap.
Woo!
And
Yay!
You just see Nicole's arms in the ending shot.
That was fun.
Oh, yes. Oh, we could have gone for hours. I saw Matt come up a minute ago saying 45 minutes. I'm like, oh,
45?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were probably
Ow!
close to an hour. Yeah, I'm telling you, it
That's
goes
what I'm saying. It was like
quick.
56
Yeah.
minutes. I looked at him and he was like,
Once
That's
you get
so
into a good
much.
rhythm, I'm like, yeah.
That's
And so
fine.
that's why I was like,
That's
okay.
that's why I was like, we got to cut
We'll
eventually. So,
wrap it up,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
We just keep going and going. We're like,
Yeah.
And the roof falls.
Because
Boom.
seriously,
Cut.
I have
yeah.
so
The
many-
roof fell on her.
The roof falling at the end. No, I'm just kidding.